Coming into the grand finals, 2G had the advantage with the map picks and bans, but it's now M80 that hold the advantage in the series overall, taking a strong Abyss to be up 2-1 in the series and just one map away from being the team to ascend. Yesterday was the first time that we've gotten to see their Abyss, and it was a strong showing, but we really only got to see a lot of their defense. So questions once we got to the side swap, and it was answered, Jen. Their attack side's pretty strong. It'll be a great way to be closing out.
Yeah, now that both teams are settling in, ooh, we are getting a very competitive series now. It started off really scrappy in the beginning, actually, with 2G being more cognizant of M80's aggro, like right off the rip. They're swinging at him. And this was a style that ME carried through from their icebox defense. And I think 2G responded accordingly, just being more vigilant, pre-aiming, and just waiting for that aggro push. But when M80 were on attack, they just knew how to play off of their own smokes, and even Koala will updraft above them, play vertically, so there was just so many angles of attack that made it too much to handle, despite 2G being such a good team in this chaos mode. It was very overwhelming to go up against M80 in these close quarter sites.
I mean, now we know for sure how Abyss is going to go down, and for 2G, I'm sure that's a devastating blow in this series as well. This is a 2G that was able to start the series off hot, but looking at some of the shots, looking at the confidence, and an M80 that was not leaving any stone unturned there, even like that spam kill through the box right at the end. A little bit of a tough way to be finding their footing for a series that otherwise started off quite strong here, Wyatt.
Yeah, definitely. Before getting into this, I was talking about not really knowing where to place M80's Abyss because we only had seen it one time, and it was excellent. Quality was going crazy. Is that always going to be what they're doing on Abyss? Evidently, this looks like one of their best maps. They've just never played it until the past 2 days, but that's a pretty good time to reveal that the new map that you've never played before is actually seemingly one of the best in your pool because they've just beaten 2 of the top 3 teams on it now, back to back. That is just so sick from them. Every first kill they had, they capitalized off of, and I mean, if you're looking at the scoreboard, you can just see the impact from multiple players on their team. Was really impressed by Net's Cypher play here. Xander had his moments as well, but obviously, you can see the MVP. That man stole the show.
Yeah, and Zap carries that performance also from Icebox of being an MVP there. This is the guy where you gotta be on the edge of your seat when he's in a 1v3. He's converting a lot of these multi-kills, and he has a very important job as the Sova to control mid and get that initial information off the rip. So Zap continues to really have an impact for 2G.
Unfortunately, just not enough of one to get anywhere close to closing out this series with what M80 was delivering on the other end. We highlighted Net from that past map. Net also a standout performance in this one, but someone who we wanted to talk about a little bit more, we highlighted it before we got into the map. Whatever Jet was going to show up was probably going to steal the show. And from Koala Noob, well, it's going to be him to steal the title. It's getting the win, and also, I mean, coming out here, Koala Noob again and again. I feel like we had the frag package yesterday after he popped off. And Jen, we're going right back to that.
And the casters pointed it out of just, we don't see Koala Noob on Jet as much as your regular duelist, but he is starting to reach that peak today. Going up against Silence to make him look silent is a feat in itself. And Koala Noob needed to be that entry guy, needed to be active and mobile and confident, which we didn't see at the start of the series yesterday, but now that his team is settling in, this is the same good-looking Abyss from M80 that got brought out today.
And with that now, it's going to be M80 that are up 2 maps in this series, and 4th one coming up for Haven. And we talked about some of the implications of Bind earlier on, but we never got into the intricacies of this map number 4, Haven. We talked about this bind that we haven't seen on the opposing end. Well, Haven, we have not seen it from 2G. Since this has been in the pool for them, they have first banned it 5 times, second banned it once. The only time they've ever floated it was their last series up against M80, and they never had to go there. They closed it out in 2. Now, Wyatt, this is their life on the line, a map we've never seen from them.
And I could expect them to play one or other of the 2 relevant meta comps, either the standard Jet Breach Sova comp, which is what M80 opt for, or the Neon comp with Spike. They've got 2 different options. I mean, frankly, if you're wanting 2Game to win right now, I would kind of hope that they're going to have Spike play Neon and get Silence over on the Cypher, because his Jet is just not up to scratch right now. Heading into this series, interestingly enough, Silence and Koala Noob were the 2 highest rated Jets in the tournament. Silence is number 1 with 257 ACS, and Koala Noob is number 2 with 256. Literally 1 ACS point off. But today, it doesn't feel like a contest at all. Koala is just straight up playing better. So I kind of hope they bring out the Neon comp and that be the solution to their woes on, the prior 2 maps.
Yeah, I think that's what M80 really struggle with is Neon, because M80 have only one non-Neon map so far. So it's like 2G, could they bring back out the Neon, really give M80 a run for their money, match that fire with fire, the aggro with aggro, maybe get M80 to settle a bit, because now that you're on a 3-site map, you're going to have a defense from M80 or just from both sides that are going to be stretched more thin. So that's where this Neon can really run things over. So I hope to see the 2G Neon.
Especially, too, the only loss that M80 have had on Haven for Ascension so far was yesterday to this Neon that was running around zapping them in the behind. So going into today, knowing that there's a very proficient Neon user server, that would be a great adaptation. A difference going into Haven this time around as well, M80, this isn't the first map of the series anymore. They have warmed up. They're a team that's been known to take that momentum. They normally have these slow starts, and that's what we saw yesterday on that Haven. Now it's map 4 of the series, an opportunity to be closing this out. Wyatt, there is so much to be said here, and the fact that this agent select can determine everything, oh my goodness.
Yeah, I mean, look, M80, they can taste victory. They are so close to doing what they couldn't last year, winning the Ascension Finals, making it into the Partnership League. They are 1 map away. And you can really tell that between yesterday and today, they really have put an emphasis, whether that be from IGLing all the players together, the coaching staff, probably all of them, on their mentality in this game. They look fired up, passionate, and they just weren't that yesterday. And that was their downfall in the first 2 maps. But man, what a different team.
Yeah, I think that 2G can just fall back to their Sunset comp of the Breach, Cypher, Neon, Omen, Sova, like go back to the comfort picks, and you can, even if you don't have this wealth of strategy, I think 2G can also just react to M80 and just punish what M80's strat book is, because M80 have shown those faults on Haven yesterday, despite it being map 1 and them, quote, forgetting how to play the game. This is not going to be the same Haven out of M80, at least I hope so, or we're going to be in for a long day. But this is a chance for 2G to fire back when their cards are not revealed. We don't know how practiced they are. They floated the map for a reason.
They certainly did, but from 2G, they started turning heads and having people talk about them from the prep, how they were able to counter in the first place. Some of the prep done beforehand, some, of course, the calling from Zap in the servers. Zap has been showing up today when you're looking at the kills department. The rest of the team, I feel like after that first map, we haven't gotten to see that same unbridled confidence that we've known to love and see from this team. And I think that's a confidence we need to go back to for this Haven. They were able to so aggressively in the past take these first peaks, win them out. Let's see that version of the team as we head into the Blacklight Agent Select. Is it the Jet or is it going to be the Neon? The duelist choice is going to be huge in this, and it's crazy.
Okay, and no one expected that.
Double duelist. Let's go.
Never mind.
Okay. Huh. Well, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say that I didn't expect that. Anyone here expect that?
Yeah, you two duelists on duelists?
They're bringing in the Fnatic comp out of nowhere. I mean, listen, I'm not mad at trying to get Silence and Spike to just go run around and shoot everybody. I'm going to be honest. That's a curveball for me. That's definitely a curveball for M80. Those guys just have to start hitting. That's what it comes down to. They have to start hitting individually.
I think that's the strat. That's how 2Game ended up winning over All Nights before. It just came down to just the shooting fest when it was all chaos and no one knew where anything was. It was about those duelists, and now you got 2 of them for 2Game.
We've talked so much about this double duelist. We've had so much praise. Now we get to see it come to light in the most unconventional of way in the deciding map for 2G. It could be elimination here if they can't pull this out. We'll have to see what they can bring to this haven. Time back for Vansilius and Chip to take you through.
Couldn't have said it better ourselves there, Des. I think in particular why it really kind of starts the conversation in the right spot. Silence and Spike have not been the same that we've seen them over the course of the last couple of days. Now you're running double duelists. There's no more excuses. You gotta show up here when it matters most.
You definitely got to show up, and you're showing up with a brand new comp, so this is untested now for 2G. They've been studying the tape of Fnatic, and let's see if they can get anything done here with those two at the helm. Spike and Silence also back on the line where M80, if they win this map, it's over for the run for 2G. And 2G want to start things off now on the attack side, hitting the B site, activating the shield already. The double tap to come through, and a first blood for Spike.
Qualinoob trying to chase it down. Not going to be able to get there because the gate crash has already sent Spike all the way deep in towards his spawn again. And Prizey is just going to not allow any sort of a flank through grass. Paranoia cuts across the B side as M80 find their entrance back on in. Zap holding from one side, Silence the other. A couple of tags are in. Xander's right click, formidable to say the least. Off the reload, able to find the elimination. But BCJ and Xander have to do this all themselves in the 2v3. BCJ trying to hold. Here comes the bodyguard from Xander, but it's only so much, and Spikes will make sure there's no further defuse to come through. And there you go, 2G with the opening pistol.
This could have been a dangerous post-plant hold for 2G because it wasn't really planted to a spot where you could just spam a corner. It was a whole half of a sphere that could be diffused here, so BCJ could have been wherever he could have been to survive the spams that would come across. But thankfully here, they still had the power of numbers. They also still isolated that last player that was trying to help him out, which was Xander here on that B site. And they're able to score first here for this two-game composition and this team, and quite an interesting one here. This has been a permaban for 2G as well. We haven't seen this all year. They've never played it in the Brazilian side, so there's no tape. Now hopefully M80 has been studying the Fnatic composition too.
Yeah.
So they could be ready for this. Looking to be ready at least for the second round. 4 players up on the A side.
Well, there we go again. Double tap out. Decoy goes first. It's so hard to deal with this initial hit. Step on forward. Silence, able to get the reset. BCJ just outside the dark cover. Qualinoob holding with him as 2G. Not able to plant, at least not as of yet. Nismo with his shoulder. At least able to see something. Flashes out, but oh, the trigger discipline. Ain't labs much. Prize able to find all 3 with 1 tap. And it's a blacklight flawless for 2G.
Yeah, if anything, the grid shot was 98% accuracy because it almost got nervous there where he would miss the first shot and then sometimes like, oh crap, I'm not getting all my kills, so this could be dangerous. But it also shows a lot here into how 2G's currently facing the adversity of potentially ending their run if they lose this map against M80. The fact that he's able to still capitalize and reset and get these 3 kills, the fact that these guys have never played a BO5 and come out with this composition and are able to convert a pistol round and also win the anti-eco, it shows how much grit this team has right now as a team.
Well, it's a bonus that will feature 2 Vandals, a Guardian, 2 Spectres, and Spikes is already getting aggressive. Whoa, rings the bell. BCJ gets blown away. Defense on the rotation to A, but wouldn't you know it? It's not A, it's all C. And that's going to be enough for likely a very convincing post plant.
And just that, pulling the rotate. Look at all those smokes coming through. M80 are thrown for a loop. They went through all their smokes towards that side. There's no more smokes towards the front of the C site either for Xander. But thankfully, Net was holding here towards that ceiling, so nobody on the attack could push forward for 2G. There's an opportunity to flood retake here with the Paranoia.
Now they're going to go for it. Flash on the counter. Flash. Good reveal as well. Holds back this M80 retake. Try to change up the angle. Xander's going to try to move over towards the plateau. Silence, all right there with Zap. Just sprays down. Trades are decent. M80 trying to fight from the high ground. Have to fight this position at long. You also have a cut across the map as Prize is going to try to work his way in through Garage, and there will be no further elements of this retake for M80, and even beyond that, Xander will not be able to save a weapon. The bonus is good, and 2G looking clean through 3.
I don't want to jinx it here for 2G, but it's looking to be a very strong showing for them to push this to a map 5. because again, M80 thrown on a loop. One single push forward, taking down BCJ that's trying to do the recon solo play towards the A side, swings towards the sewers and gets caught. And not only that, the fact that they tried to flood retake and it gets countered by a flash from Spike and a recon for Zap to get all the players blinded and hit by a ping. M80 does not look ready to play against this comp, so Xander has to be on point on how he reads this play, and also for the coaching staff to watch it round by round to try to come back in this game.
Smoke, recon ball through long, double stack for M80. Wall and noob getting aggressive right up through sewer, but he misses the window. Xander also going to have to be pushed off. The neural theft going to force him back into sight where the hit is already underway. Rotating quickly is next. Sheriff in hand for him. Decoy just goes a bit awry, and well, there's just nowhere for Xander to go. Another blacklight flawless for 2G.
And this is where you're playing against the lower buys of your opponents, where you could snowball so much around the ISO. And this is such an important ult to bring now with the kill contract going into the next round, where you have a gun round available here for M80. And you're already seeing him looking at each other, trying to figure out how they can play against it. And already you have a timeout coming out from M80. Just to one, at least calm the snowballing effect that 2Game are currently doing here on the attack side. But now again, trying to figure things out. How do you play around here? This double duelist pulled out by 2Game.
And this is the important part, and I'm glad that you brought this up, because this may seem premature, I think, in the larger scheme of when a timeout gets called, but this is an important moment. You've seen now a couple of, you saw the bonus, you saw a full gun round, and Happy needs to make a call of, hey guys, remember, this is what this comp does best. This is how we best counter it with what we have on the table. You have to be able to give them the game plan now, because you weren't able to prep this map really at all for what 2Game are going to do. You have a mind in terms of what you want to do, obviously, as your pick, but it's one of those situations that you don't know what you're playing against. So you don't really get to play a counter strat until you start to see what 2Game are doing. 4 rounds in, now you've got an idea in terms of what 2Game wants to do, and M80 can really start to establish what their identity in this map is going to look like.
Yeah, and the thing too is how do you nullify Spike's map control that he's currently taking by himself here for the team for 2Game, because this is something that's not unorthodox here. Koalanu plays this agent as well. He's also able to create a lot of these fakes and TP out and then just throw their opponents into a false rotate. So that said, though, we'll stop that pace. There's a lot of things happening towards the C side already, though. At least Xander's able to avoid the kill contracts. That's a great start, at least, for M80.
Oh, BCJ, Odin out. He tries to fight back. And through the contingency, M80 actually stopped the play towards C long. And Xander follows up with some spam through the smoke. That will work out for elimination onto Zap. So that's one way to counteract it. And I feel like often when we saw this comp become popularized by Fnatic, it's just like, how do you deal with a double tap contingency down these long choke points? Yep. And unless you can find a way to do things like fault line it or paranoia it feels like it's free entry. This time Xander just steps up, finds a kill, and shuts down the play.
If anything, the first thing was step away from the ult that prevents him from getting all of these kills after, because this would have been a different story as well if he got caught by that. That's a C site open. That's contingency, as you mentioned before, that gets so much value because there was no defenders on the side of M80 holding up towards the garage. And that's the other thing, too. On the other side of the attack, though, for 2G, they never really went into any garage control for the split into the C site. So there wasn't really any big ways to really attack Xander. With him dancing out of the garage, at least there in the mid-round, Pricey gets that kill and an opportunity here for 2G to turn it around on a pulse plan.
They need to worry about what happens over towards garage. Fault line will come through first, trying to get the isolation over to Luis. He's trying to get the teleport out, and Koalanu in and out of the dark cover. That is just enough to keep Luis occupied. But keep in mind, Pricey has made his way back over. Puts down the initial trap. Cyber Cage about to expire. Nismo on the corner. Gets the first one cleanly. Maybe a chance for isolation. Oh, nearly, but Koalanu does not miss. Pops off in the player cam, and M80 get on the board.
Oh, that was so close there for 2G, because that back TP coming in from Luis was actually quite sick, because most of the times the Omen TP's outside of B main, out of contention, out of any danger, and he's willing to go head-to-head against players inside the A-Link. And thankfully for M80, it was a dash available from Koalanu. Goes right through the smoke, and Luis couldn't get that pick. And then almost Pricey winning a 1 versus 3. So despite M80 having a great start with how Xander was holding towards the C site, it still ended up being a very, very costly round for M80 to win. They carry over and off, but look at the rest of the buy. It's half shields, only a guardian, and a couple of rifles.
Contingency out. BCJ aggressive through A long, playing for the orb. Collects it. and wants more. Bold, to say the least, but at least confirms the information. You also saw for a moment the contingency was already thrown over towards C. So that's not part of this play. What do you use here if you're 2Game Esports to crack the code on either of these sites? Because usually it's a double tap contingency. They don't have that anymore.
Yeah. Could have been potentially trying to control the A orb as well while they're selling this fake towards C, so you could have a dimensional drift.
Yeah.
So you're actually really nullifying the opportunity to gain good value out of your recon. And literally talking about recons, it's the owl drone to try to sell a fake. You're trying to insert Pricey here after you fall back, but they didn't break the owl drone. This is huge now for M80.
Oh, Pricey, well, I mean, that's just an overheat from Xander. He thinks he's got him dead to rights. The paranoia comes through, but Pricey just holds the angle, turns that into a free first blood. Nismo, fault line, avoided by Silence, who's able to catch him to the dark cover, plus get the reset of the double tap. Luis, up and over, not gonna be able to take down Koala Noob, who tries to now have to do it himself. Operator and knives to play with. 125 collective health pool, left. But the spike is on A, and there's a long lurk from Zap.
Give me the spike planted.
Good first. And if he gets the read into Zap, maybe there's a chance, but he's just trying to hold the op in. Yep, he will just narrowly, well,
wait, is making noise though.
So just narrowly avoids Zap, and he runs right back to his direction, and 2G will get up for again 5-1, feeling it.
It still was a great attempt, though, from Xander to run it down. Yes, it looked questionable at the play, but to follow behind the owl drone that it spots the opponents because the owl drone didn't get shot. He blinds 2 players, but look at that. Pricey staying very close and being nearsighted, you're still able to potentially spot the tip of the barrel of Xander walking through, and you win that fight. That was huge there for the side of 2G, but once again, not necessarily defaulting to a point where it's just Euro making noise at this point. That double walk down in that spot into sewers, once again, shows here for M80 that they're being thrown for these fakes.
Yeah. Dimensional drift contingency, wide open C site. Just classics and a sheriff for net. Hunter's Fury, maybe, but unlikely. Spike will be planted. Luis will make sure of it. And there will be a long lurk from Koala Noob. He saw the gate crash come back, but he's in a little bit of trouble getting through this trap wire. The rest of his teammates stacked up, looking to play the other side of the site. Paranoia cuts across, recon bolt in the backside. Is there any opportunity for Koala Noob to get some isolation? Doesn't look likely. Double tap gets re-earned, but no, Koala Noob does make his play, but can only catch one by surprise. Hunter's Fury gets called here. Nat is able to tally off of the neural theft that also, I think, got popped, or probably the recon that got initially hit. But Luis getting 2 has now made this round extremely expensive for M80, and BCJ will not have a chance to further onto the Fusel.
Especially when Koala Noob can get that backstab there, and that allows here that neural theft to be thrown by Pricey just on the body of Koala Noob, which then gives you the information and not an opportunity for Xander to really go in and diffuse off the smoke that he covered himself with to try to hit that diffuse. So it looked pretty good, at least to flood back in that moment, and it looked fairly decent in the amount of damage that they were able to do, but it turns out to be fairly costly on the eco side of M80 when you forced out and you try to gamble play with the Hunter's Fury.
Yeah.
That's going to hurt here on your attack side for M80 for sure.
Yeah, really, really, really badly.
Here.
Well, operators back in hands of Koala Noob. Rifles for everyone else. A couple of light armors to be considerate of. Kill contract is nearly earned for Silence. Same can be said for Zap and his Hunter's Fury. The only other thing to really kind of consider is if Net finds elimination, he will have a lockdown. Angle held by Koala Noob over towards A long. But the hit for 2G. Looking to once again just play this contingency down. See, that is a very interesting contingency. Doesn't really block the lane. It just tries to block that top platform, and there will be no execute beyond that.
If anything, it gets you on the top of the C, the top C at least, if you want to explode around that. But that said, you're seeing how M80, with the amount of times that they were trying to fight back against Yoru making a lot of noise and getting TP'd out and being forced on these rotates, they're anchoring up a little bit more. But when they anchor up a little bit more, look at how much space 2G has to be able to play around.
Yeah. Well, this could get interesting.
So reactive.
Yeah, Net's going to get an alarm off. Yeah, this is a good look from the observers. He gets 1. He can immediately get to a position to pop lockdown and stop this play from even happening. He's looking to get out of sight. Wants the lockdown to come through. Hits it immediately. Now time is going to be an issue here for 2G on this approach. Again, they've got no contingency here. Legitimately, not just by ability, but also by where they rotate to. They're going to try to go B. Oh, this is mercy. Can they actually get there in time?
It's Gonna be
They're
C.
going to do it one step forward. They're going to go to C. BCJ is going to have a recon for this, just coming down to does he get a read?
He can't, because he already used a Hunter's Fury on the previous round. So even if he gets a recon there, he can't deny the plant. So this is still winnable for 2G.
It's a
They
bold
haven't walked
rotate.
out for the retake either.
The problem here for 2G is they have to be very cautious of is there going to be some sort of a flank with a heavy defensive stack towards A. Spikes the first one up. Good damage. Does not collect the elimination, though. Koala trying to enter with an operator. Great fault line. Hits almost everybody. Now here comes the flood. Spike able to hold for the first. Trying to lock down the site best he can. Prize deals with one. Trades back and forth. Koala still landing. Zap off of the reveal. Trying to come back over towards the spike. Able to take down one, but nothing more. It's Koala for 3. And with the spike diffused halfway, it's M80 getting their second.
And you called it a beautiful fault line coming out from Nismo because they were trying to set up a high-low right after. They avoided the first flash being thrown by Nismo as well. But then after the fault line happens, you saw already that Luis tried to jump into safety, back towards default, trying to make plays in that spot, and then unfortunately falls, and it makes that lurk not work out here for Zap. He does do some econ damage at that point, but it becomes a good flood retake in the end based off the fault line thrown from Nismo. So great value once again off the utility. Yes, he maybe has not had the best in terms of fragging capabilities in these roles so far in the last 2 maps, but he's definitely making the util work in favor for M80 to at least salvage his second round.
I'm not gonna lie, this ISO gameplay has been less than inspiring. Contingency and kill contract both come up empty again. Site will be taken, but M80 are fully healthy. And they are one Nismo elimination away from having a Rolling Thunder for this retake. And Luis has shown himself, and Nismo nearly had
They
a
haven't
chance
cleared
to punish.
sewers though. They haven't cleared sewer shift, and there's double players there for M80.
Looking at it, and Net will say not so fast. Nismo now from the front. Net working through sewer, gets a second. Paranoia is going to land. And the fall down from Nismo doesn't really work out, actually. Silence still trying to hold from inside hell. Luis right there with him, but he catches a face full of frags. Just down to Zap, which has been enough before. Recon Bolt does not get around the corner, but it may work out. Koala Noob still gets revealed by it. He knows it's on the edge, but Koala Noob with the operator not going to miss. A second tallied in a row, and M80 have brought us back to within 3.
I was actually surprised that it got the ping there onto Koala Noob, but didn't look like he was really overextending on the missed recon dart that was thrown there by Zap. That could have been a dangerous wallbang there where you could have gone lucky for Zap and convert here this clutch in a 1 versus 3. But for somebody that we've been praising for the first 2 maps where Zap was getting so many multi-kills, he's actually been falling a little bit quiet here going into these rounds where in these moments where you have to clutch or you have to step up to the plate, we're not seeing it as much anymore. No. So it's not really just on, you know, Silence and Spike faltering just a little bit. And again, their stamina is being tested in this BL5. It's falling short.
Heat check. Koala Noob just runs it down A long. Oh my. And all of a sudden 2G got to be sitting here like, what? No way. If Koala Noob starts doing that, we're in trouble.
I'm down for it because Koala Noob pushing 1 extremities for like a 1 and done while you have Xander inserted towards long C and a triple stack towards that spot. Now you're killing 2 birds with 1 stone, right? You're putting 1 at the front, getting these kills, but we'll talk about it in a bit. There's an alert from Luis. It's a 4-on-4.
Really well done. Good isolation. Luis getting aggressive. Now the Rolling Thunder trying to find the retake over from the A side of the map. Luis trying to shake off the status effects. Now takes his peek, and what a timing from Luis. Gets 2. Net, Koala Noob trying to make this happen. Knives are out. Has to deal with the initial trap. Hunter's Fury. It's able to get to halfway, and he sneaks away. Koala Noob almost tries to break the corner. Net with the retrigger. Not gonna work as Prize will finalize the last 2 kills, and 2G find themselves their 7th.
Again, this is just going to be continuous good macro play from both of these teams. Whenever Koala Noob, if he realizes here that he took down the Euro, it was a solo play on that side, technically, they had the right read where, you know, Euro TPs with the rest and be working towards the C site. So they had 3 players stacked there for M80. But this is a great way for 2G to just up the tempo wherever, you know, the pressure is coming from, and they've avoided at least the pure stack that was happening here from M80 towards the C side to get the plant towards B. But it's Koala Noob activating everything, and now they're 2 rounds away of closing at least the gap where 2G looks so dominant in the first half. have to think on their toes, push it down towards middle. Low buy that they have here. Hero rifle for Koala Noob. And no opportunities to retake because there's a double trip in the back from Pricey.
Yeah, they say one's not enough, we'll throw both. No way Koala Noob gets through that. He is on the hero rifle. Aldrone will see just silence. This angle from Spikes is a dangerous one. Paranoia is out though. That pushes him back towards the gate crash. And keep in mind, Net is still in position here, trying to threaten the flank. But look at the From the Shadows play. You've got Luis now flanking the flank, so to speak. He's behind the play of the defense. Net has done well over the backside. Xander gonna get to halfway. You gotta go, you gotta find it. Xander almost gets it defused, but Luis does get into the dark cover in time to stop any antics from happening.
That was so close as well. I think it was like a second away from being able to get that defused there, just under the nose of 2G. We're at M80 with the pressure that Net has been bringing. You talked about double trips here, where technically you should not be able to get value out of a flank. He still manages to get 2 Sheriff kills on top of that against 2G. But thankfully, from the shadows coming back, the last line of offense for Luis is able to save that round for 2G and not make it and give the momentum back in favor of M80. But another opportunity with a knock. Looking back towards the A side. Still have it stacked towards the C side now for M80. But 2G is trying to up the tempo. Going with the contingency. Off here, the dimensional drift to clear out the C site. And it's going to be a full execute now.
Whoa, wait. There may be an opportunity for a recontest their garage here for M80. Spikes has moved his way back into this position, but he has missed the crossover towards the right side of the window. Spike planted. Long flank from Koala Noob. Net lockdown out. Aldrone scouts this. Does Spike want to try to go to deny the lockdown here? Certainly Xander's in position though. Lockdown does get destroyed, and Silence takes good effect of it. Kill contract comes through. 1v1 me, bro.
Oh, they're gonna knife it. They're gonna knife it.
Later.
Never mind. At least they had everything going here shift after. If Silence was going to lose that fight, there was definitely going to be a guaranteed round no matter what coming out from 2G. But the value that Prize has been getting out of these neural theft to not allow Net and M80 to get the most value out of the lockdown was everything there, especially giving his life away. I think that was Spike as that Yoru. Even if he died to Xander, at least he broke that lockdown. And that was a great selfless play to allow 2G to tally up 9 rounds of their first half on a composition that they've never played before, on a map that they haven't played all year, and they have an opportunity now to push this into M80's permaban that they never played all year.
That
couldn't write Ascension any better than this.
Legitimately cinema that happens. But that's, again, you know, for 2 game, 9 is great, especially considering, like we've already mentioned, not a map that they've played. The ISO was effective in terms of Silence finding kills, but I'm not going to lie, there were moments where it didn't look like the ISO was finding the same value that you would normally expect, especially considering these, you know, trendsetters of Fnatic and how they played it, but still making good use of it. I mean, the first half numbers are pretty solid. Obviously, at the end, it starts to come through, but I don't know. It's one of those situations that now I think the question really ramps up because, let's be candid, ISO and Yoru on defense, you have to play aggressive with. It's just, or you have to play full retake with it, and there's not really any other option. You really can't finesse between getting pulled. It's either you have to play as a 5-man force early for something like a trap play, or you have to play for a 5-man retake. It's just not a lot of extra utility on the ISO and Yoru that helps out, especially on a 3-site map.
I still think, though, they have a pretty decent composition to hold somewhat into the defensive side, because Pricey could definitely hold a lot of information on his own on one half of the map, while the rest here could try to play. He can still play good retakes with recon darts and flashes coming out from Spike and Zap. So I don't necessarily think that it's necessarily a bad cop to play on defense. Definitely, because you're playing double duelists, it almost looks like you have to be fairly aggressive, but there's still great util coming out from an ISO that allows for you to scale back, that maybe they could have things going on their side here for 2G's side on the defense.
See how it all builds. This 2G squad has been kind of stapled. Their identity as being an aggressive side, or aggressive team rather, I should say. And Spikes will get a lobby control. Sentry turret nearby, alarm bot most pressingly in front of him. But he can at least play the contact and gate crash. Well, not anymore, so he can gate crash back if he wants to. But instead, it's going to be an owl drone that gets him out of position. Doesn't give it up fully yet, though, and Luis, meanwhile, is just going to see if he can find contact on this little shoulder peek. Darts are in, Paranoia is through, 2G want to fight this. There's the double tap. First shot, going to be countered. 1-for-1 goes the initial exchange, but M80 not feeling good about this backup, and now they're going to go to garage.
This whole time, it was just one player per Spike on the A side, so they still have the most numbers over here towards B and C for 2G.
They've read this, though, have 2G's defense. Xander maybe thinking about trying to push to the window. Net is already up. Do they hear anything? Here's the re-wrap back. Luis holding into a corner. Would just need to go 1-for-1, you'd think. M80 doubling back again, but Luis has cleared the front of B, so now the defense can start to get to work on putting their attention right back over towards C. Slipping through, Paranoia out, Spikes! Pardon me? Sorry, man, I guess I wasn't familiar with your game. 2-tap headshot comes through, and the last one standing is Xander, who's flashed beyond recognition, and whoa! How about those ghost shots?
A game of cat and mouse in the pistol round. Having two players inserted into the garage, both Xander and Net. They try to pull a rotate by running back towards the front of the B side. Net calls it. Here's a little bit of a rotate. They're weaker now on the B side. They're weaker now on C. Let's try to head back towards that spot. But 2G was not giving them any type of space or any type of free kills. It ended up being a 1-for-1, and then Spike's just playing the off angle when you don't have too much utility left on your last moments trying to hit the site. And there you just land your shots, you win the pistol, and it's looking once again to be, unfortunately, not the cleanest haven that we see coming out of M80.
What a predictive play here by Luis, followed up by the vulnerability off the ice, I believe, from the other side of the map. Looked like it, Nismo last one left, and he's stuck. Wow. Overwhelming pressure. 2G up 11-3 on a map they have yet to ever show, and whoa, are they cooking.
Okay.
And that's also here on the amount of times that M80 have been playing this map of Haven, where they've been studying the tape when they were playing against All Knights on top of that yesterday, when M80 lost that, 13-3 against All Knights. And definitely 2G is like, oh, we definitely have what it takes here to play against this composition, and how All Knights look pretty good here against M80. And yes, you've mentioned that vulnerability to fight back towards the B main hit was perfect. Look at another contingency. Shock darts on top of that, but it misses.
Yeah.
Thankfully here we stayed back for M80.
That's a lot of utility spent, but 2G will have a lobby control. And as Spikes makes his way over to C, he's looking to hit a blindside up and over the box. There's the pop flash, and he sees everything. The right click, though. Oh, no, the Bulldog spam does not connect. Prizey, backside of the site, trying to stay alive through the aftershock. Has to find cover because BCJ's on the way in. And M80 are going to get their fourth as soon as they deal with that.
And that is a saving grace there for M80, because you've mentioned, yes, a lot of utility was being used there for 2G's side, but it actually funneled and corralled all of M80 for a hit towards the C side, where all of the Cypher trips were being set up there for Prizey. I think we're just a little bit, we committed it a little bit too much, rather, for the flash out of Spikes. Yes, they got so many players blinded, and he just had a little bit of an RNG moment where he couldn't even get one, unfortunately. But outside of that, you're kind of leaving your teammate out for stranded right there for Prizey. Look at how much utility was being used against them towards the back of the site. Fully flat on top of that, too, for Quality to pick up the free kill. So that is, again, saving grace for M80 to convert a very healthy gun round against the bonus of 2G. But 2G still has great control at the defensive side, putting M80 in moments and positions where they want to fight them until that happens.
Yeah, just a walk down 1v1, and Xander's not done. Whoa, okay. How about that? Opens things up nicely here. Gun round looking pretty precarious for 2G. 3v5. Net on the back pedal. Will get safely into a lobby. He's the one responsible for this angle, though. And Spikes is coming across the corner, and Net is primed and ready. 5v2. Surely 2G are looking to save.
No choice at that point. This is a lure. I mean, an expensive buy coming out from 2G and nothing to carry over with the extension of his T rifles, but M80 are overreading this. They're going back towards the C site. The camera just spotted them too.
Yep. Trapped to allow the defense to stay on site. Cyber Cage gonna get popped. Prize staying healthy through. Luis off the reveal. Makes good on one. M80 stuck at the choke point. Paranoia hits everything, but just the transfer not there for Prize. At the target-rich environment, maybe you just don't know who to shoot at sometimes, as M80 will clean it up and put themselves another one on the board.
2 times there where a pop flash just catches M80 off guard, and unfortunately there, as you've mentioned, Chip, too many targets to choose from. You're like, I don't know which one. But thankfully here, you're able to convert another round there for M80, and that could have been fairly dangerous looking on the side here of the attack because of the crossfire that was set up from that trip. Ended up being so good for 2G, where it looked like they were going to save these ones. Look at that Vandal moment.
The slow motion is criminal. Fault line set through early for M80 down A long. Pistols out in full sheriffs, and Spikes is dead. There's just nowhere to go there, brother. M80 looking like they just want to take this straight over to A. Silence has been good in these moments, but not this time. And that will likely be enough for them to just say, let's take our 5v multiple somewhere else if we want to. Get the defense a little bit more limited on numbers.
And this was where you're going to start scaling ultimates as well here for M80. So far, the second half has been working well for them. 2G, as I mentioned before, it's not necessarily the composition that you think would be the weakest here on the defensive side. I still think they could be fairly decent, but they are giving a little bit of their tells at the beginning of these rounds where they keep trying to go for these contingency shock darts. Blinded hits here onto M80, where M80 so far at the beginning of these rounds, they haven't really been contesting that area from the get-go. They've been avoiding all that utility from the start, and that gives them an opportunity to work that map a little bit more to their favor, especially on a 3-sided map, where now that conditioning here for M80 that says, hey, we're not really hitting this A site really, and we're finishing towards C a lot into the mid round. You might see one of those moments where they just want to brute force it back after the initial utility from 2G on the A side and just re-hit A, especially going into the next round where Nismo has a Rolling Thunder available for them to really hit this site.
Well, it's Blacklight flawless here for M80 against the full sheriffs of 2G. And the Copium tank starts to fill up round by round. 11-3 comeback, I don't want to say is impossible because we've seen it once before already in this event. Shout out to that Dolores and All Knights matchup. Never thought I'd see the day in a major tournament that would happen, but it did. So there's definitely a chance here. Just comes down to, can you keep the puzzle putting together, keep this momentum building? Because again, I just worry that for 2G off this composition, they're going to get caught trying to play too aggressive.
Definitely. And now for M80 as well is to try to see if they will want to counter into that aggression too. So 2G now realizing, this is a great moment to call the timeout. I think there was a couple of rounds ago where 2G felt like they had full control of this map, so they permitted themselves to overpeak and really tried to overextend a couple of these fights just because their shots were landing on how they were fighting against M80. But they're realizing here that M80 are really staying as a pack to try to fight into map control, not too much defaulting into extremities or keeping players inserted into these heavy gun rounds. So now the timeout is going into that. Would you want to save? Okay, I thought we were going straight into action. I was going to go crazy there. But I thought it was going to be in those moments where you're going to try to save a little bit more of the vulnerability in the shock darts to try to play this retakes, because you really haven't had a chance to go for a full 5-player retake either.
Yeah, that's very true. So lots of things to discuss, a lot of things to think over as we get into our next full gun round here in round 18. Lots of ultimates on the table as well. In particular, look at Nismo with the Rolling Thunder. Spike may also just sit here and say, I've got Dimensional Drift. Let's heavy stack one side of the map and play for retake on the other as Zap gets to work on his Hunter's Fury. Spike's going to get aggressive, though. Oh, that's just one of those moments where you wonder, maybe a little too greedy.
Phantom moment, though. It was a 140 there onto Koala Noob where he potentially was trying to TP out of that. But again, the game plan was there. Rolling Thunder going into the A site. You saw that for 2G. They wanted to play a little bit more passively and try to play the retake with util, but this time they won't have spikes, so they won't have flashes to retake into the site for 2G.
Yeah, Xander's going to take a lot of chunk damage off those shock darts from Zap. Are you joking? Follow from the Aldrone sees a good amount of information. There is no one on the long flank, though. So for 2G, this is all about trying to flood your way through. Contingency comes out first. Aftershock holds it off. Paranoia now on the way in. Quality trying to hold early. Fault line pushes him off. And 2G can't find a way into the site. they're out of utility. Now it's just got to do it the hard way. Quality off the reveal. Silence trying to play around the backside of the dark cover. It's not going to work out as 2G cannot find a way to crack the code on the spike site, and M80 have flipped the eco back into their favor again.
Because the best thing that they had was a paranoia to try to combine with that recon dart. It only pings one player on top of that, and the other ones were just able to avoid it because you're not flashed, you're not being blinded by a Euro flash. You can't really run around you don't have to run around the site trying to look for some cover. And speaking of cover, the one-way is being thrown by Xander as well into the spawn to not allow 2G to get the best out of the refleds once they find the pings, when they move in with the contingency wall. So that's beautiful display from M80 in these post-plant scenarios. Again, doing a great job punishing the first blood against the overcommitment of Spike right here. Once again, trying to contest towards the A side.
Whoa.
Okay, that's how you answer back.
Yeah, I'll say. And now there's an opportunity with this stack over towards A-Long. They can push up and collect this weapon, and M80 are aware of that. So they're going to make an aggressive move over towards Spy Cam, gets deleted immediately. Smoke coverage over towards the garage elbow and over towards the backside of the defensive spawn. How risky does Prize want to get it? He gets one trapped, so that's enough for him to find an elimination, but the Nanostorm to follow will keep the numbers, at least for now, in favor of 2G, but the plant is on.
And ults too, but Net's gonna put his down right away. Are they gonna wait this out? They're gonna have to sphere it, so we are committing into this, but Luis dies.
Yeah, the 1-for-1's not bad considering it's a double ult setup. Lockdown expires. Here comes the retake. Xander wants to hold close. Steps in. He's able to avoid the recon, but not the double tap. Just down to Nismo. Blind is through. Kill contract is out. And again, there's no way that he gets out of this one. Zap is right there waiting in 2G. Put us on match point.
How does a double tap save you as Nismo goes inside that smoke? He actually hits the headshot, but the double tap saves him, which then allows there for the rest of 2G to flood inside that smoke. The spike flash coming out of that one as well. You already knew it was going to be a commitment coming out here from 2G as they were committing on these fights and winning these fights before M80 was still able to set up into the post plant. And yeah, you're going to call the timeout for M80 for sure. This is map point for 2 game. Again, first time on the stage playing a BO5, and they're about to push this into a map 5.
Unbelievable scenes. I mean, wow. Drama thick as ever. 2 game. Now a chance to send us the distance, where they would technically, again, coming out of the upper bracket, this is where their advantage comes to play, is at the end of a series that looks like this. But can they get it over the hurdle? Because even though that's a throwaway in some regard by M80, there's still a lot of success they've been able to build on offense. So this tactical pause coming out of it, can they clean up those things? Can they find a way to catch 5 in a row? The problem would be 2 game in that span are going to have a chance to earn some of these ultimates back again.
And you almost have to at this point here shift. Because again, bind the permaban for M80. The last time they played that map was a map 4, the 4th map that they played against the Guard, where they lost in overtime, 12-14. And you definitely don't want to force this into the 5th map.
Yeah.
Everything in the map veto is in your favor here to close it right now.
Flex pickup, though. Offensive operator spikes, I believe, was seen by that Aldrone late as it started to cruise its way into the garage window. 1v1 isolated between the Omens here over towards A lobby. Luis sneaks under the box. Silence nearby. But all of this is just Xander trying to make sure the flank stays held, as garage has already been taken and the 2G defense are going to rely on a trap wire to defend B and stack the C site instead.
I was about to mention that too, because the turret hasn't seen anybody towards middle. I think it would have been a good call as they're stopping the tempo here to maybe break some util towards the front. That would pull out the rotate out from 2G or force the hand on that side. Seems to be the case to start. They are trying to walk up slowly here. It's been smoked out. Now Luis is alone, but that drop from Xander.
Oh, we're just not checking corners. Get careful. For a moment there, I was about to say, about to be the world star of the century. That comes through. Zap over towards the back, only able to find one before Quality fits the trade, but is that enough to securely get this plant put together? 4v2. There's the vulnerability. Fault line to respond. Silence sidesteps. It doesn't make a difference. BCJ still snaps over it. Oh, BCJ opens the door for a 1v1. Luis v Nismo. Luis off the bat. Nismo prepared for this. How does the action happen? Ah, Louise wins the 1v1. You want him at 5? You got it.
Louise with the first and the last kill. The most important ones coming through here for 2G to push this map to their victory and to push this into a map 5. Backstabbing Xander. Xander was not ready for that one and goes for the quick swing. 50-50 chance to go for the clear, and he gets his right to instantly get the headshot there onto Nismo, the defuse, and now to have the Ascension series decided on Bind, where again M80 has never played this map.
Can you say that louder one more time for the folks in the back?
M80 has never played this map, and he lost it in overtime the last time last year on this very stage of Ascension.
Oh, drama. It's absolute cinema. Could it get any better than this? I don't know. It's going to be a little bit of a prickly point. As Vance mentioned, some PTSD possibly around the corner, but it's a map 5 and we come back after the break.
The game starts long before the game starts. And warm hands are faster hands. Gain the upper hand and power up your pregame warm-up with Zippo hand warmers.